AskReddit by #pound. What's a lesser known Disney conspiracy theory? The voice of Snow White, Adriana Casalotti, couldn't work in movies music after that movie. Anyone that tried to hire her to do any kind of recording was warned off by the Disney company because they wanted to ensure that kids didn't hear Snow White's voice anywhere else. Fun fact, she's is the one saying "Wherefore art thou Romeo" during the Tin Man song in The Wizard of Oz, 1939. Former cast member at Disneyland. People got the idea that we all had to wear shared underpants. This comes from the fact that characters have to wear shared underdressings, for example leotards and bloomers and t-shirts and shorts. But someone took it into their heads that all CMs shared underwear. It was one of the more common questions that I got. That and the tunnels. WDW has underground passages, DL does not, with the exception of a trash tunnel under Tomorrowland. I worked in those tunnels. Did you guys have a Ruin the Magic tour like us where they took guests in previously forbidden backstage areas? One of the biggest things security at their parks has to look out for is people smuggling in ashes to spread at the park. Into the Water of Pirates is supposedly the most popular locations to deposit them. This is 100% a thing. A friend used to work at Walt Disney World and told me they had cleaners in hazmat suits come and vacuum the ashes from Haunted Mansion multiple times a week. His name is actually Disney, just like the logo is trying to tell you. Amazing we've gone so long spelling Snep's name wrong when it's right there in front of us. I've never seen one, but there's a famous poster of Mickey, Goofy, and Donald sitting around a giant hooker and has the title "Ain't Gonna Work on Disney's Farm No More." It was rumored to have been created by a fired or otherwise unhappy illustrator in the mid-60s. It made its way into many SoCal head shops, but when Disney found out, they confiscated all the copies and sued the illustrator into the poorhouse. I worked in a comic shop in the 80s and we had several comic artists that had seen one or two in private collections. I'm very certain I have seen this piece, or perhaps a reproduction at an auction. I thought it was cool, but I opted to not buy it because I was there to purchase something else. Found an image of it. This is it. https://digitalgallery.bgsu.edu/student/exhibits/19608/#jid1 I worked at the Disney Studio lot in Burbank a few years back. There were a lot of wild rumors about the tunnels that supposedly run beneath the lot. There is in fact one tunnel that goes between the old animation and camera buildings, and I walk through it all the time. It was built for animators to move their art between the two buildings without exposing it to the elements. I worked at the old NBC studios, now the Burbank studios, and they had a secret tunnel between buildings as well, for the same purpose. They also used it when any presidents or anyone else with Secret Service protection were guests on The Tonight Show. They have a secret army of stray cats, which is true. Those are pest control. Those cats have full medical and free housing. They're not stray. That the Arizona State University mascot, Sparky the Sun Devil, is based on an unflattering likeness of Walt Disney himself. Rumor has it that the animator responsible for the original conception of the mascot's appearance was a disgruntled former Disney employee who hated WD. The only hard facts are that the animator formerly worked at Disney before working at SU, but people have speculated about it, mostly pointing to Sparky's teeth and mustache resembling WD. This feels like it's just generating content for an AI-generated TikTok video. I bet one will randomly pick this comment without even vetting it. Can't wait to read this while watching someone hop around on blocks in Minecraft. Next to Big Thunder Mountain at Disneyland there is supposedly an animatronic graveyard under the pathway where you walk next to the tunnel from the mine train through Nature's Wonderland. animatronic graveyard like spooky robots popping out from behind gravestones or like trash heap? Because the former is just a haunted mansion. Surprised not to see the rumor that Kurt Russell is Walt Disney's son as a rumor. A black market for unauthorized Disney merchandise within the company itself. The vintage merchandise trade must be insane among lifetime employees. That at one point Disney had more money than the US government. Friend of mine works in technical writing for contracts and told me one time there are a customer for whom money is no object, the government and Disney. Like he's in meetings sometimes where they're negotiating price points. Most customers, when they are told something is going to cost lots more money, they back off and decide they don't need that after all. When it's the government, cost doesn't matter, whatever it takes. When it's Disney, same story. True fact, almost all the cast members in the Mickey costumes are women. In order to fit in the costumes they can be no more than 5 feet 2 inches tall. Far more women than men meet that requirement. And on the opposite end, the Queen of Hearts is typically played by a man. This one actually happened. Prior to Tron Legacy's release, Disney actively made sure the first movie was pulled from everywhere they could. They took back any TV rights, pulled it from any digital services, there weren't that many at the time, and bought back DVD copies from major retailers. I'm not sure why they did this, other than maybe they worried if people watch the first one they might be like, not sure, I need to see the new one now. I'm guessing they wanted to market the movie based nostalgia from your memories of the first movie rather than what it actually was. My guess is probably so they could sell new editions of the old movie based on the nostalgia wave of the new movie. Not a conspiracy but real fact. Disney, L. Ron Hubbard, Aleister Crowley, and Jack Parsons all lived in a commune together. It all fell apart when Jack Parsons got creeped out by L. Ron Hubbard and left to seek a restraining order against him. Didn't Hubbard run off with Parsons' wife and all his money, too? Disneyland trots out the Main Street Electrical Parade and 3-day SoCal resident tickets whenever they start to get concerned about attendance. Read, not often. I don't remember all the details exactly, but they chose to delay the release of Treasure Planet and have it go up against Harry Potter and Santa Claus to right before Christmas because they wanted it to flop. I like the reason was that Treasure Planet was a 2D animation made using some new form of technology that cost a lot. Treasure Planet is absolutely in my top 10 Disney films. Not a conspiracy, but a fact via IMDb. Holland Ellison was briefly brought on as a scientific consultant on the film. He was fired on his first day, before lunch was over, because he pitched an animated porno movie starring Disney characters. Roy Edward Disney was sitting at the next table, heard everything, and had Ellison fired on the spot. Ellison insists he was simply joking, but others who were there say he was talking about it sincerely. Edit, sorry for the leaving it out. This was during production of The Black Hole, 1979. What film? China's Baogang Steel Mill, often quoted as being one of the worst places in the world, has an 8-bit sound recording of Disney's It's a Small World after all playing on repeat on loudspeakers all over the factory. https://yahoo.be/IY63PEGMM8W?SISSGT3K64HDEA9EIS closed bracket probably to ensure it's a miserable place to work as it's full of prisoners doing hard labor. Why can Goofy walk and talk but Pluto is kept on a lead? They're both dogs? I suspect that Mickey, Donald and Goofy are abusing that poor dog physically and mentally to make sure it never realizes its potential and rises up to meet the three of them. They're kind of a joke about this on the new ride Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. The beginning of the ride your train car is operated from Goofy but he doesn't notice, so at the end of the ride you reconnect with him and he's finishing some complicated story. So for example you reconnect to his train and he's saying that's where I hid all of the gold. On the lines you can get though is he'll say and that's why I wear pants. A Pluto doesn't. They made a movie called Frozen to try and bury the conspiracy theory that Walt Disney had his body cryogenically frozen. That way when people Google Walt Disney Frozen, the search results would be about the movie instead. The first 8 results when I googled Walt Disney Frozen were about the rumors of Walt's body being cryogenically frozen. The visual design of Lord Farquaad is based on Michael Eisner, but lesser known is the same thing applies to Thanos. I've heard Farquaad's height is also a snipe at Eisner on behalf of Jeffrey Katzenberg. Eisner is 6 feet 3 inches and once called Katzenberg, who is 5 feet 4 inches, a little midget when they were in the midst of legal battles in the late 90s, so I could definitely see it as a petty comeback or overcompensation. The movie Disney's Wish was rushed and released to cover up something nefarious that happened on the Disney Wish cruise ship. What happened on the cruise ship? The witch from the movie Brave is actually Boo from Monsters, Incorporated. Brave is the first and last movie in the Pixar timeline, and the magic discovered by Merida in Brave is what allows inanimate objects and animals to behave like humans throughout the Pixar universe, culminating in the world of Monsters, Incorporated. The witch's house in Brave contains hidden references to Sully from Monsters, Incorporated and the Pizza Planet truck, hinting at this connection.